Are you a diehard Kings Island fan? Well, if you're listening to this podcast, there's a pretty good chance of that. But there's a piece of Kings Island, say, decor that you may not have yet. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Yeah, so another, I guess it's becoming less and less rare where we have a guest on Tower Topics. And what we have is a gentleman named Scott. Now, Scott makes some pretty cool items for Kings Island, which are on and off available on the Kings Island store. But we'll get more involved with that. But just to show you an example of his stuff, here's the Son of Beast placard. If you guys are listening to the audio version, you're really missing out. So switch to YouTube now. But if you guys see what's on the screen, it's a placard of in this case, the Son of Beast ride that's backlit and it's made of steel. So Scott's the guy who makes these things. So Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. So can you let's start from the beginning. How did you get involved in this form of art?
Well, it began when I was a kid. I started drawing when I was 2, and I would just dabble in things from there. And then I spent about 7 years being a welder in the welding field. Then I became a welding instructor, and then all of a sudden, my boss bought a CNC machine, and I discovered that with a CNC machine, you can digitally draw whatever you want and then cut it into metal. So, and it just began from there. It first started with metal dice. Then it was a bottle opener, excuse me. And then it just kind of kept on growing from there as far as what else can I do, and it just kind of kept on growing and growing to what it is now.
So, Scott, tell us about your product and why is it a must for any Kings Island fan?
I think it's a must for a Kings Island fan because what they're buying in some cases is nostalgia. They're longtime fans of Beast, or maybe even new fans of the new one, Orion. And they want a piece of merchandise to bring that home, and show it off. And they're really a big fan of the roller coaster and just everything that goes along with it. And I mean, you can only wear a shirt once, but when you have a sign that's in your house, it serves as a great nightlight, and it's something that, can really start a conversation with people. And I think that's why it's a must with Kings Island and Kings Island fans.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And I mean, the details are impeccable. I think your CNC skills are off the charts. I'll tell you that much. But
thank you.
So, you mentioned that you made dice and bottle opener, stuff like that. And then obviously transitioned to more complicated designs. But now you're making logos of Kings Island rides. How did you get hooked up with Kings Island for this?
So I to advertise what I do and how I do it, I started doing craft shows, and at each craft show, I did something tailored to the area or the event that I did. So when I got to Kings Island that year, I asked permission to do 2 of the roller coaster signs. I asked to do both Beast and Orion. Beast being the record holder and the all-time favorite of Kings Island, and then Orion, of course, being the new ride. They wanted to give me they wanted me to give them an example, and I kind of just sketched a something simple. And I said, "Hey, if you give me permission, I will give you the Beast with claws and all, but I don't want to spend 3 hours, on a maybe, so I need your yes, So they gave me their yes, and I showed up to Winterfest 3 years ago. Actually, I think we're going on 4 now. And I showed up to Winterfest with both signs, and I posted Beast on the Kings Island Season Pass holder website. And from what I was told by some of the people there, they said it went viral. They said that the sign went everywhere, that it was on Reddit, it was on, Twitter, it was on everything. So I'm not sure how true that was. But I mean, immediately they were flying off the shelves. People wanted to buy them. People, it was starting to, I had a crowd around my booth, and I mean, I went to go get drinks and stuff and things set up for me and my father-in-law working the booth. And my poor father-in-law was just flooded by all these people, so it was a fun event. Shortly afterwards, they asked me to take my signs down, but they also had good news for me. They wanted to make a deal and start, having me make, signs for them to sell. So, which is exactly what I was kind of aiming for. So, we shook on a deal, and I mean, we've been going ever since. And first, it started with 2, and then I asked permission if I said, hey, I can do more signs. I can do everything in the park if you want, and they permitted me to. And now we're, I think, like 6 or 9 signs deep now. So
Scott, I was there at the time when it was posted on the Facebook page, working for Kings Island in the marketing department. And I can confirm it did go, essentially viral. There was a lot of interest in the signs. A lot of people asking, how do we get that? But when you're looking at the different designs, you said the Beast, the record is the longest wooden roller coaster. That's a natural to do. But some of the other ones that you have come up with, how do you choose the designs?
So those designs are actually, well, first of all, I work from an image. So sometimes I can generate something myself. There has been a couple times that I have generated things just from a picture. But for the most part, I asked Kings Island to submit me a design, a clip art image, something simple. And then I take it in my program and I trace that in my program. And then after tracing it, I then have to figure out how it's going to work in metal. So I have to make sure that it's not going to, that everything is not going to just become molten steel and that everything is going to hold together, but at the same time show an image and then somehow hide the lights behind each cut. So there's a lot of planning that's involved with, just taking that image and turning it into a design to be cut out in metal.
That's very interesting. Are there any designs that you've considered that just haven't been produced yet?
Honestly, like I want to go bigger. So just recently, I posted a image. I was just playing around with scrap because I was making stencils for the current order that I just submitted, as well as cutting the orders as well. And I had letters from Banshee from a stencil cut out. And then I also had a Son of Beast sign. And I put the letters of Banshee over the Son of Beast sign. And that just kind of got the wheels turning, And if I'm not sure if everybody knows the story, but if you don't, Son of Beast was basically consumed by Banshee, so that's what's gotten my whole head wrapped around it. And I would like to do a 2-tier design, which I have done in the past. They are on my Facebook page, where I basically take one piece of metal and I bolt it to another piece of metal and I put lights between both of them. And I would like to take Son of Beast and put Banshee in front of it, or maybe, Son of Beast and then Banshee behind it. I would like to even go even bigger than that. And I would like to go more artistic and show maybe like Banshee kind of, sucking in all the lumber of Son of Beast and maybe like a table display, so I've got some really big ideas and I'd like to go further for sure.
Awesome.
Scott, you mentioned a little bit about the process of making these, but how long does it take you if you're just going to say do a Beast one? How long would it take you to produce one of those?
Okay, so it depends on if I already have the design or not. Once the designing is actually the hardest part and probably the most time consuming, because it's all about planning and figuring it out. And working the image to where it's going to work in metal and how I'm going to hide the lights and et cetera, et cetera. But as far as having the beast sign design already made, I can whip one out probably within inside of about 4 hours. And I mean, that's if I'm really cooking. So I can move pretty quickly now. And now that I've been making stencils, I'm allowing myself to move even faster.
Very cool. Now, if somebody say they had a company or something like that, they wanted to have a custom logo made, is that something you can do?
Absolutely. And that's what I try to advertise during Winterfest when I'm there is that like, hey, I'm the guy that makes roller coaster signs, but I also can make a lot of other things, you know. So my only restriction is that I can't really make people. It's just the fleshy skin tone that I can't right quite get the color of, you know. So. Um, but everything else is fair game. I've made dogs, people's dogs, but I've made it in a anime fashion, so their dogs kind of looked a little cartoony, which almost kind of added to the cuteness of it. So, I mean, I've made coat of arms. I had a family coat of arms, family lineage. I have made company logos. I mean, pretty much if you name it, I can do it.
So since you said we can name it, you can do it. So if Ryan and I wanted one of the Tower Topics logo, you could make it for us. And if fans of the show wanted to buy one, you could make it for them too, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, more on that to come, I'm sure.
Right now, in terms of logos and that, like working with Kings Island, uh, where do you get the logos? Are they like send them to you, or do you have to try to like pull it off, website somewhere? How do you go about getting these logos to do these designs?
I asked them for to submit it. That way, I have their permission to take it. In the beginning, I will be honest, and I took Orion and Beast right off Google. So that was when I didn't have the connections that I do now, where I can just simply say, "Hey, you want me to do that design? I need this in a in this file." So in the beginning it was Google, but now I just simply ask out of respect.
Yeah, that's nice. It covers your trail because you asked for it and they gave it to you, right?
Right,
Um,
exactly. Plus,
so
that would be in violation of copyright.
right, and we wouldn't want that. But so this may or may not be true by the time that people listen to this, but typically where can you get these things? If you want to buy the Beast logo, Orion, where would you direct people?
That'd be kingsislandgear.com. And honestly, I've been a season pass holder for a long time. I had no idea that they had a website. And once I got to the website, I was actually pretty blown away by all the stuff that they have. So, I mean, it's actually a really good site. They sell a lot more than what you see, at, the parks. And I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff on there. So definitely worth checking out. Plus my stuff's on there.
Yeah, so I think we kind of determined before we started recording that it's not on there right now, but we think there's out of them. And you made a pretty big delivery today,
That's great.
so beginning of May 2024 when we're recording this, it sounds like they'll be back on the website pretty soon. We presume at least.
Yeah, I hope so. Once it leaves here and in the operation that I have, it's pretty much in their court, so I can't honestly say, when they're going to be up, when they're going to be posted, or how much they are, because, it's just like, well, I'm just the manufacturer here, so I give it to them and then they take it from there, so at this point in time, the ball is in Kings Island's court.
Sure.
As someone that is a big fan of Kings Island, myself growing up, going to the park since 1972, and then seeing your product, up close when you had delivered some of them to the park, it definitely is a must-have for Kings Island fans. Now, the ones that you've done, which one has been the most popular?
The one I have that is reigning champion is Beast. I have made probably about 150 Beast signs since the year that I started, which was about 3 or 4 years ago.
It's really cool. Now, just to piggyback off what we were saying before, let's say somebody wanted to have their company's logo made or something like that, how would they reach out to you for that?
Best way to reach out to me is to contact me through my Facebook right now. I do have a website in development that I will be moving to have up and ready. But you can either go over to my Facebook and send me a message there. You can send me a text message through my number on Facebook or email. Just basically reach out, get in contact with me, and then I like to keep a point of contact with my clients because it allows me to not only collaborate with them, which is a very big important part of the process, because I want to make sure that they're happy with what I make. And also, I like to keep them updated throughout the entire process. So once I come up with a design, I submit a final design approval to them, which I want them to okay it before I cut and steel. And if they don't like it, then I will change it until they do. And because I want them to be very satisfied with what I make them, and really happy with what I make them. And once it's cut and steel, there's nothing that I can really do about it from there. It's kind of a permanent process. So I just want to make sure that they want what exactly they are acquiring. And then I send them pictures all the way up until almost the final product. And then when it comes to the final product, this is what I get out of it is I have them for the locals. I have them come to my personal place of operation and pick it up. And what I really like to see is their reaction when they see it the first time. Because I mean, I've seen so many different reactions. People, just light up when they see it, in their face. So, it's like, all right, well, I just finished painting it. And then they ask, oh, well, what's it look like? I'm like, maybe you should come. Not to, seem full of myself or bragging about my work, but it looks one way when you take a picture of it, and it looks totally different when you see it in person for the first time. So,
Oh yeah.
to be completely honest, the pictures really do it no justice.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, you mentioned people can reach out to you on Facebook. How do they find you on Facebook? What are they looking for?
They're looking for a Scott Custom Art Metal, and that's anywhere in the Facebook. You can Google me, and I should still be the number one popping up there. So yeah, just Scott Custom Art Metal. Your mind wants to go metal art, so just try and teach your mind to kind of not be grammatically correct.
Absolutely. Well,
All right.
yeah, Scott, we really appreciate you being on the show and keeping us updated. I've always been very curious about these things. It's been an honor to have you. Now look for Scott Custom Art Metal on Facebook. Are you going to be at Winterfest again this year, or do you not know yet?
That is to be determined at this point.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah. So, kingsislandgear.com is once they get those things back on their website, you can order them there. Or if you've got your own personal needs where you want to have your company's logo, your family crest, anything like that, give our man Scott a shout and he'll be able to help you out. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys having me, and the honor is all mine to be here with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, it was great having Scott on the show. That was really fun and very informative. Don, I was looking at USA Today, and it seems like their 10 best list has changed a little bit. Last year, Kings Island was voted number 2 for best theme park, and they didn't make the list this year. So they've been on the top 5 of the last, or they've been on the list last 5 or so years. So I wonder
Yeah,
what
several years they were in the top 5, like you said, number 2. Last year. Yeah, it was interesting to see them not make the top 10 because it's almost like that was, just kind of always expected that they would.
Yeah, it's very strange, changing environment and stuff. But
I think a lot of that too, comes down to the marketing promotion of that contest. And there's you can pepper people too much and they get fatigued on it. You can do it not enough and they don't vote for you, and out of sight, out of mind. And you don't even make the list like they didn't this year. So there's definitely a little bit of a you know uh, method to the madness there to make sure that you're hitting people at the right time, the different channels, whether it's a text message, that connections newsletter that the park has to put either an article or a little banner ad in there to vote on your website. I used to write articles on the blog to have people, aware of the contest, and it did really well through that, social media. So there's just a lot of different things that go into it. It's a fun thing, it's a fan vote. Some parks put a lot of stock in winning those things or being in that top 10. Other ones, they don't care. So it's always kind of interesting. Cedar Point was number 10. So you would expect them to be, maybe a little higher on that. Silver Dollar City is the park that won, but it's a fun thing for fans of those parks. And so they've got so many of those different 10 best things. So it's just one of many that are going to be out there this year.
They'll win the next one. It's all right.
Yeah. Also, we have an update on the double chicken sandwich situation for you. I don't know if it's an update, but we tweeted on our X, formerly known as Twitter, as we said, as per the KI blog, the Miami River Brew House at Kings Island PR, we tagged them on their X, had a new healthy option, the double grilled chicken sandwich. However, 3 hours into the season pass preview, Ryan, you and I just missed it. It was no longer available and is now off the menu. We asked, what's your response to this? Tagging the Parks Director of Communications, Chad Showalter. So Ryan, what was the response back from the park? What's the update there about the status of the double grilled chicken sandwich?
That's your update. Radio silence.
All right, let's move on to the listener question. What do we got?
This one's from Mr. Jim Flugel, friend of the show. Thanks for the question, Jim. He's asking, at Tower Topics, question for Don Helbig. When you decide to semi-retire, would you ever consider being a train conductor for the Kings Island and Miami Valley Railroad? Don, would you ever be a train conductor for the Kings Island and Miami Valley Railroad?
Always one of my favorite rides at Kings Island, going back to my first ever visit, 1972, just love the KI and Miami Valley Railroad. I don't think it's a question of whether I would consider being a train conductor. I think it's a question of whether Kings Island would consider me for the position. It would be a dream opportunity to work on the train, I would think. Like I said, lifelong fan of the ride. I think about the Dollywood Express and how much fun it would be to be on that crew, or the Walt Disney World Railroad. So those would be the three different ones that I think about that be kind of cool to work on those. Semi-retired, I don't know that I'll ever retire. I think I always have to be active. I've been that way my whole life.
But he said semi-retired for a reason, Don, because he knew you were going to come back with. If he said, after you retire, will you do this? You'd be like, I'm never going to retire. Then he wouldn't get an answer to his question.
But I think it's not, like I said, it wouldn't be up to me. I think it would be something if the park would consider me for that role, I'd be interested in that. Who wouldn't, right?
Yeah, it sounds fun. All right. Well, Jim, thanks for the question. Hey, I'm Ryan Sir, along with the peripatetic Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.